Everybody thinks that it's the kids that have like learning disabilities, special needs, like that kind of thing, like exceptionalities that are falling through the cracks and struggling in the schools. But we are forgetting about our gifted kids. Like, this is a huge problem. And if you go look up the statistics for the percentage of dropouts, high school dropouts that are actually very highly gifted and just weren't challenged in school, it's astronomical. 100%, if you've got a gifted student and you have them in a public school, which by the way, the gifted program where it's just like, oh, they go to the gifted teacher every Wednesday for the whole day, or maybe 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That is not enough. These gifted kids need constant enrichment. I'm gonna share something with you that we did at one of the schools that I taught at that I thought was a really good way to help out our gifted kids. At the time, I was teaching 5th grade. So let's say the whole 5th grade has like 90 students, for example. Well, instead of just mixing up the entire bunch of 90 students and then divvying them out to the different teachers, like 4 teachers, for example, they did something called a gifted cluster. So any kid that was either like actually labeled gifted, like passed the test as a gifted child, or just kids that scored really, really high on the standardized assessments, they were put with a single teacher. I was actually the teacher one year. It was really cool, into what they called the gifted cluster class. So I basically had a class of 25 above average students. What was cool about this is I didn't have to spend so much time like changing up the lesson plans to meet different needs because all of the kids were at a certain level. So it was really cool because I could add things onto the lessons because I knew the kids could handle it. I could provide enrichment activities to make it more challenging for them. The downside to this though is that if I've got this big, high achieving gifted cluster, that means the other teachers, and particularly one teacher, would always get like what we would consider the low class. And so usually when you have lower performing students academically, you're also going to have behavioral issues with that as well. So it was always like 1 or 2 teachers would just have a really rough class that year. And when you tie teacher pay to student achievement and you've got one teacher with like all these super, super low kids, it makes it really, really difficult for that teacher. The good news is though, you have more opportunity to show a lot of growth. So if your kids are all starting really low, by the end of the year, if you're doing a good job, and if the curriculum allows for it, your kids are going to show a lot of growth. When you're the gifted cluster teacher, it was harder to show that growth because they were already starting at such a high level. So the school district's trying to, stimulate their gifted brains by having them just go into a gifted class once a week. That is just not enough. Having them clustered all in one class every single day, having the teacher be able to provide those enrichment activities, I thought was really, really smart.